Hey Alex, so I don't know that it's ever been mentioned in the videos, but when we started this project, we decided that we were going to upload one video every Thursday, and we kinda dropped the ball on that one. Okay, so it was totally my fault. I mean, first I was out of town, and then I was busy, and now it's a week later, and I don't have a video up, and Alex is only like 50 pages into her next book. Don't worry, it won't happen again. Well, probably not. At least for a while. So for this week I'm reviewing Generation A by Douglas Copeland. Generation A takes place in the not-too-distant future, in a world that is essentially exactly like ours, except that the bees have gone extinct. At least that's what they think. 5 people at various places across the world are suddenly stung by bees and immediately taken to some government facility where they're tested and experimented on to find out what exactly attracted the bees to them until eventually they're released back into the world. They soon meet up with the others who were stung and eventually meet up on an island off the Alaska Panhandle to tell stories. When I first finished the book, I was on a boat in the middle of nowhere, so I had literally nothing else to do but to think about it. Well, that and read The Hunger Games, which is a very good book. But despite thinking about it for all that time, I still can't decide whether I like it or not. I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, but it certainly wasn't the best book I've ever read. I guess overall I'm not entirely sure what the point was. It's a very character-based novel. It's told from the point of view of the 5 people who were stung by bees in like alternating journal entries, but despite that none of the characters undergo any real development. The closest we get to that is near the end of the book when it turns into a collection of short stories. This works as a sort of reverse character development. We don't find out how they have changed as people, but we do find out how they changed to become the people they are before the story began. But overall, throughout the book, aside from a few minor quirks, the characters are almost indistinguishable from each other. That's excused by one of the twists at the end, but I'll get to that later. Also, one of the characters has Tourette's syndrome, but it's pretty much just an excuse for Douglas Copeland to insert random curse words into the middle of sentences. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know how Tourette's actually works. Then again, I'm not entirely sure how Tourette's actually works, but I'm pretty sure it's more complicated than just swearing every shit fucking cunt word. The book also seems to be making some sort of statement on our society and the way we live our lives. It does this with the use of the fictional drug Solon, which most people in the book are addicted to. Solon is described as making the users feel like they do when they read a book, completely detached from the world and living inside their own little heads. Essentially, it makes you not care about reality. The problem with this is that for the entirety of the book, this is pretty much a subplot. It's not until the very end that it suddenly comes to the front. And even then, aside from a few brief lines about how Solon is a horrible thing that destroys civilization, the emphasis is more on the creator of the drug, who is pretty much just flat-out evil. Also, it seemed to me that the ending of the book came completely out of left field. After the entire book is composed of what I just said, all character development and social critique, out of nowhere, it suddenly dumps a conspiracy on our head. There's basically one big twist and then 2 less important ones. The big one is that the chemical that is used to create Solon is the chemical that exists in the protagonist's brain and is what the bees were attracted to. And the people who have been experimenting on them were trying to harness this chemical. And you know, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it wasn't foreshadowed or anything, but it does sort of fit the book. The first of the smaller twists is that the man who created Solon is the man who has been working with the protagonist directly, but he is doing so not to create more of the drug or to help find a cure for the addiction, but so that he himself can find a way to achieve the ultimate high. And he plans to do this by eating their brains. What? Yeah, so that comes completely out of nowhere and is glanced over in one line and then never mentioned again. The second twist is that when the protagonists were experimented on, they were also fed this weird jellied substance, which it turns out was synthesized brain matter from the other people who were stung by bees. And by eating the brain of another person, their minds become more and more similar until essentially they have like a collective consciousness, and they are basically 5 variations of the exact same person. I mean, that does explain why most of the characters are so boring, but still, it comes out of nowhere in the very last chapter. It made little sense and didn't have much to do with anything else in the book. So, I don't know, it wasn't a bad book, but it was nothing I hadn't seen done before by somebody else and done a lot better, and probably with less cannibalism. It was pretty average. I'll give it 2.5 Wonka children out of 5, but you should definitely read The Hunger Games. Alex, I'll see you sometime this weekend, I guess, when you're gonna do Wuthering Heights, which I know for a fact you hate, so that should be fun. See you later.
Ready, Dawn?
Yeah, in a minute. Going to see Inception. Hopefully the movie theater won't fuck up this time. Last time we went, it turned out that the tape was all over the floor and they had to cancel the entire screening. I don't know a lot about proper film handling, but I think if the tape is all over the floor, someone has done something wrong.